exactly that they're societally inept. It's mainly that neither of them really gives a shit. Like, there's a little bit of murder. Like, I won't lie, there's a little bit of murder. They're just like, oh, but I don't know if he likes me or not, or oh, I don't know if she likes me or not, or they're just very aggressively fucking. What's up, guys? My name is Lou, and my books are everywhere else. Really, this is gonna be my new filming spot. As you can see, camera quality is a lot better actually, and that is mainly because we now have a Canon camera. I'm explaining this better in like a vlog that I'm doing, but this is going to be more of like an actual like test video, really. I have a better feel of the camera now. I feel like good enough to like sit down and actually film. Like, I have a ring light for it. Like, camera quality is better. I also know how to do these things now. Yeah, I have a little, we have a little remote for this actually. Yeah, I dropped it. We're doing a book review, another one. The last book review I did was on To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly X. Chang, which we already know how that went. And now we're doing on the second book that I've read this year, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Listen to me when I tell you. Listen when I say this was a romance. And I actually enjoyed it. I genuinely actually cannot believe that I enjoyed this romance so much, and it kind of like blows my mind a little bit because, as you know, I'm not very much of a romance person. Like, it's just never been my thing. It really never has been. I never thought it really would be, ever. Like, this I picked up just on a whim because I was like, you know what? Give me something that is low stakes. Give me something that is not heavy at all. And this was exactly that. It was low stakes. I didn't have to think about it very much. It was just a very light story with some historical context that also didn't overpower anything that was going on in here. It was like, a lot of it's mainly just about like the feelings of emotions. Like, the way I describe this book, it's just like, okay, so let's talk about a couple of things. First off, in this book, we follow our main character, Theodora. We call her Dora. And she is a lady with half a soul in Regency, England. So essentially what's going on there is that half of her soul was taken by a fairy when she was young. And essentially because of that, she hasn't been able to feel many emotions, and she isn't like very keen on social cues. She's kind of like, it's kind of like she's autistic. Like, literally. And so she's just kind of been living that way, really, where it's just like, she doesn't feel much of like anything. And she says things that are just very like out of pocket, and honestly I completely love her to absolute bits and pieces. Hold on, because also I use a new app. This is my phone, by the way. I use a new app to track my reading, and I remember I use Bookly now. Again, I talk about that more in my other video that I'm currently filming. So for this book, I gave it 4.5 stars actually, which is a lot higher than I thought I would give for a romance book again. And there was just a lot. It was very fluffy, very humorous, and very like, it was just a lot of things, okay? This book was just, it was honestly kind of everything I kind of wanted from a book of this caliber, because it's just like, both of our characters are not societally, it's not exactly that they're societally inept, it's mainly that neither of them really gives a shit. Okay, so the thing about Dora is like, she doesn't give a shit really because she doesn't have like the mental, like the emotional capacity to really care about whether what she says is like societally appropriate or not, but she does have the awareness that some of the things she says are odd, because she can like somewhat read people's facial expressions. Like she can actually be like, oh, like several times throughout this book, she's like, oh, I probably said something odd, didn't I? Even though it's kind of like, yeah, like we as the reader understand that that was like out of pocket and that was weird, but she doesn't, and that's the fun part about it. Like in the first chapter of this book, she actively like says something that, okay, here it is. For a moment, let me just read it to you. This is page 10, by the way. For a moment, as Dora turned her trembling lip back towards Sir Albus, a chastised look crossed his eyes. I do apologize, he said stiffly, but Dora noticed that he addressed the apology to Vanessa, not to her. Apologize for what? Dora murmured absently. For impacting your chances with my cousin, or for acting the bore? Sir Albus widened his eyes in shocked fury. Oh, Dora thought with a sigh, that was not the sort of thing that normal frightened women say, I suppose. That's the funny stuff. Like, that's the kind of stuff that kind of happens here. And the thing about it is that Dora is like, she's like kind of like socially inept, but her cousin Vanessa is very like well known in like social circles in Regency England. Like she's trying to find a husband and everything and blah, 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 you know? And so, but Vanessa completely understands Dora, and so she doesn't treat her like an outsider, even though Dora's aunt, who is Vanessa's mom, does. And it's just, it's a lot, okay? There's a lot of moving parts to that. And then our love interest, our male main character, is Elias Wilder, and he's a sorcerer, magician kind of person. He's a lord in London. And so he's the kind of person where people are like, oh, we don't like him. And it's mainly because he doesn't like the fake politeness or like the forced smiles that society, that like high society tends to like push, you know? And so he just doesn't bother with it at all. Like, this man on the regular insults people, on the regular just says all this kind of stuff to people. And it's mainly because he's like, the way it's explained, it's just that, like, he was in the military. Like, he was fighting a war, right? And so he just gives absolutely no fucks.
You know what I love?
What?
Not giving a shit about you.
The most hilarious thing I have ever seen. I love sarcastic characters, and Elias is just everything I need in a sarcastic character. Let me tell you. So the thing is, Elias gives absolutely no fucks, and I love him so much. There's this particular scene, because like, it's like well known in the high society circles that he has abominable manners, right? And so nobody likes him for that, because he doesn't play to the fake politeness and everything like that, right? So, so there's a scene where he's arguing with a butler, right? He's trying to do this, because in Regency society, there's this thing called calling, where essentially like prospective like marriage matches, they meet together or whatnot, but he doesn't know how to do that shit. So he's just kind of showing up, even though like technically you're supposed to send flowers first and all this, whatever, you know? Dora could only imagine the poor butler's consternation or something. I don't know what the fuck that word is. Anyways, he'd probably been instructed to force Lord Sorcier to leave by any means necessary, but the man was unlikely to be cowed by simple pleasantries, which were, Dora assumed, the only weapon of note in the servant's arsenal. In fact, the butler stammered, the lady is not home. Oh, is she not? Elias asked. His voice dripped with sardonic disbelief. I see. No matter then. I must be off shortly to investigate a plague, but I'll return directly after I'm finished with that if the lady is not at home. A horrified silence ensued as the butler considered the possibility of a plague-touched Lord Sorcier and returning to the house that later in the afternoon. Perhaps you should check again for the lady of the house and see if Miss Eddings might yet be found, Elias said dryly. She should check beneath the furniture in case the lady is hiding. Like, literally, this man is so funny. And then Dora shows up. She's like, I didn't realize you'd be paying a visit this morning, Lord Sorcier. Elias glanced over glanced over towards her with a grim scowl. "Miraculous," he declared. "The lady has appeared from thin air." He narrowed his eyes at her. "Were you in fact hiding beneath the furniture, Miss Eddings?" Dora smiled serenely at him. "Beneath the sofa," she told him. "But now, here I am. How might I be of assistance?" And the thing is, like, this is the kind of banter that they go on with throughout the entire book, even when, like, it starts off as him being like, "I have absolutely no idea how the fuck this is going on," and then he's just like, "Okay, I kind of like her." It's just real freaking cute. Okay, so let's have a talk about my thing about romance. I have never been a romance person, and we all know this. Okay? I've never been a romance person. I probably will never really be, like, a true romance girly. However, this was something that I could get behind. Because my gripe with most romances is that they usually never have a plot beyond the romance. And two, the books always favor so heavily on the couple that it, like, loses any other part, and, like, the couple becomes, like, kind of, like, oversaturated, if that makes any sense. The way I want to describe this is like, hey, the couple has a lot of, like, on-page time together, but neither of them have, like, their own personalities outside of each other. And it's like, it produces some very flat seeming scenes where it's like, oh, they're just like, oh, but I don't know if he likes me or not, or oh, I don't know if she likes me or not, or they're just very aggressively fucking. And so there's kind of, like, nothing really there to build a romance upon when these characters don't have any personalities and kind of feel like stale bread. But the thing about these two characters is that even though they're both very different people, they have their own little quirks that, like, make them come together a lot more. And the thing about Dora and Elias that I really enjoyed about them is that neither of them tried to be anybody else for the other. Like, Elias was like, okay, maybe I should try and at least do some things right, but he does it in his own way. Like, when he sends her flowers as, like, a calling kind of thing, he makes magical flowers that match Dora's eyes, which is, like, so cute. And, like, in the beginning of their relationship, he teaches her how to scry, which is essentially using a mirror to project herself into a different space, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it exactly, but that's how most of their conversations happen. And it's honestly so good because they're using that magical aspect and everything. But also, something that happens is that Elias actively seeks her out to spend time with her, and she begins helping him with his own, like, work. This is something about the book that I really want to, like, get into, honestly. And it's the fact that, like, a lot of this book is Dora being under a lot of societal expectations because, like, they're trying actively to get her cousin Vanessa married off, you know? They want her married off, like, very high up, right? That's what they're trying to do, right? And so what's happening here is that, like, since Dora is there, they're like, okay, we can try and get her married off too, I guess, question mark. Really, that's really what's going on there. And so the thing is, Vanessa and Dora, they're both, like, pushed at this pair of brothers because there's this countess lady who has a lot of sons who are unmarried, and they're, like, eligible bachelors in London, you know, that kind of shit, right? And so, like, Dora is pushed towards Albert, who is a veteran, and he's seen as non-eligible or, like, less eligible than his older brother, not just because he's, like, a second son, but also because he lost an arm fighting for his country. And the mamas see that as him having less value, even though he is a physician. He goes to workhouses and actively like trying to help the common people and everything, but they see him as less because he doesn't have one of his arms. Like literally, he has a magical mechanical arm. That's it. That's the only thing. And so while Vanessa is pushed towards the more eligible son, the son who's going to take his father's title of Count, Dora is pushed towards the throwaway, which is really, it's really dumb. Like, really, really dumb. But if you think about it, it kind of like mirrors a lot, because Dora is kind of seen as like a throwaway kind of like girl, since she doesn't really understand society and she really just kind of says things just to get people to shut the fuck up. Really? Like, she understands what she's supposed to say, but she doesn't know why she really needs to say them. She doesn't really understand like concept of people like being like offended, or because she's never really been offended, even though there's this kind of like deep pit in her where she's like, oh, I guess that kind of feels a little like, she's like, I guess I'm supposed to feel something for that, but I don't know what. So she just kind of puts it to the side and forgets about it, which is like, yeah, I've done that. Not that I haven't tried to feel it later, but like, I've done that. I have done that. Essentially, these two characters, like, the thing is, Dora has a lot of like societal expectations put on her, mainly because her aunt is like, hey, don't you dare screw this up for Vanessa. Don't you dare screw this up, because everything about her aunt is like, don't screw this up for Vanessa because I've given up on you long ago. And it's just like she's continuously calling Dora strange and like weird and everything, and it's just it's weird. And she's like, okay, whatever, right? And then, you know, Elias is considered like this like societal outcast because he just doesn't give a fuck, and his manners are horrible, which granted they are, but also it's just kind of like, once you understand him more, you'll understand that he's actually more into that, really. But let me tell you something, I really didn't expect to like this book as much as I did. Like, there's a little bit of murder. Like, I won't lie, there's a little bit of murder. It's not heavy, like, there's nothing in it that really, like, there are some heavier topics that are explored, but it doesn't, like, overpower any part of the book. Like, it's just very cozy, which is why cozy fantasy is where this was considered. I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. I didn't think I'd become a romance person, but sure, these people were so freaking cute. This man, and neither of them really give a shit, and it's just, it's everything to me, like, honestly. And honestly, if I were Elias, I would have had a crash out too. Like, because all of this just seems insufferable. Honestly, there's not much I really need to say about this book. I honestly just really, really liked it. It was fluffy, it was humorous, I laughed a lot. It was just a great book. Honestly. And I can't believe, like, this has made me want to pick up more romances, and it's a problem. It's an issue, actually, because I'm not a romance person, though I do have 2 romance books on my shelf. But anyways, that will conclude this book review. I honestly, truly enjoyed this. It was a really great book. Again, I gave it a 4.5 stars. It's just one of those things where you just really gotta, like, take it for what it is, and what it is it's just fluffy and cute, and I love it. Anyways, guys, that brings this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of my content, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. I post semi-regularly on this channel, so don't miss out. Also, leave me comments down below what you want to see from me, what books should I put on my TBR, what books I should move up my TBR. Say hi in the comments, or just tell me about what you're reading. I always get really happy when I see you guys' comments. It makes me so happy and appreciate it. Anyways, guys, I love my lumas. Bye!